Hello, Easy Tiger breadwinners. Today we're going to talk about just the simple things that you need to make bread. And there aren't very many. As I say in my book and in the recipe on the website, there really aren't that many things that you need to make bread. I do always recommend having a scale. Hopefully you have one. If you don't, we've included all the cups and teaspoon measurements for things, but you get much more accurate results if you use a scale. It keeps kind of those ratios in balance. All you need is a nice metal bowl. You should need one, or porcelain bowl would be great too. But a bowl that's big enough that your blob of dough is going to be in here. It needs to be able to expand. So something about this size. Of course, we have our starter from Easy Tiger. And then the other thing, one of these is invaluable if you have one, a plastic dough scraper. Lets you scrape up here, scrape on the table. This is, I keep one in my pocket most of the time. I always have one of those on me. Get it out of the drawer before your hands get all sticky with flour. I always forget. And then the other things that we are trying to get our home oven a little bit more like a bread oven. A bread oven holds heat really well and gives it back steady, whereas a home oven doesn't have the mass of a bread oven to do that. But a couple things can help us out. First is a pizza stone. It's great to bake on a pizza stone. Then you also want some moisture in your oven when you first put your loaf in. So you want to make a little bit of steam. I take an old cast iron pot and I've filled it with lava rocks. I also have some chain in here, nuts and bolts, anything that's going to heat up and have some hot surface area. These two things you stick in your oven ahead of time and you preheat your oven. I like to say at least an hour before you're ready for baking. So preheat your oven so this is really hot, and when you pour water into it, it turns to steam. And you want your pizza stone really hot, so when that bread gets on there, it immediately transfers that heat into the loaf, and your loaf rises. It has that oven spring, we call it. It just kind of blooms in the oven. It's a beautiful thing to watch. And then, to make it easier to get steam and water into this pan to make steam, and also get the oven door closed to keep that steam in there, I like to use an automotive funnel. Of course, not the same one I use to put motor oil in the car. This is dedicated for baking, but it just has this long, flexible end to it, so you can stick that down in there and have the oven door almost closed, pour your water in there, and then pull it out real quick and keep all that steam in the oven. I have a nice wooden pizza peel to transfer my loaf onto the pizza stone in the oven. If you don't have this, an inverted cookie sheet works just fine. These are fun to have too. And that's about it. Now, there is an alternative. If you don't have a pizza stone and you don't have a way to make steam in there, another great way to bake bread at home is in a Dutch oven. So this acts like an oven, almost like a brick oven. It's retaining heat itself, and it's also keeping that moisture in this pot in the beginning, so your loaf is going to rise nicely. So you don't have to make extra steam if you're using the Dutch oven. You just use the Dutch oven with the lid on it. A nice thing to have to go along with baking in a Dutch oven is a piece of parchment paper, because you can have your loaf right on there, and then you're going to preheat this in your oven, so it's nice and hot and ready for to transfer that heat to your loaf right away. And so when you have this hot thing, and use the oven gloves, of course, when you have that and you have your loaf on this piece of paper, you can just gently, carefully lower it in there, and then put the lid on and put it back in the oven right away. So a Dutch oven works great with the lid, because that's what captures the moisture and makes steam inside of there. And then after about 20 minutes, you want that to go away so you can get a nice crisp crust. So you just go in and pull this off and leave it in your oven for another 15-20 minutes, or however long it takes to get the nice golden crust on it. So real simple equipment needs. It doesn't take much. It's fun to make bread with your hands. And that's what we have for today. Thanks for baking with us. We're really excited about this community. It's really coming together, and I'm having lots of fun checking in a few times every day and answering questions. And I also just really love seeing the beautiful loaves. Keep them coming. Thank you.